I'm the skin panel that doesn't want to cooperate.
This is the RC Jet Jock. Oh, I just broke it. What's going on, guys? It is Sunday morning, March 10th, and you are watching episode 2 of MU-2 The Build. Welcome back, guys. We're back in the garage. As you can see, we have made more progress on the MU-2. I am so sorry I have not been able to get out a video recently. Things have just been absolutely nuts with work. We've been flying all over the place. By the way, I hope y'all are really enjoying those shorts that we're posting up from the different destinations that we've been flying to lately. I just love aviation so much, and I love sharing it with you guys. Speaking of sharing it with you guys, we are going to share the construction footage of this airplane later on in this episode, but I want to thank y'all all so much for tuning in to episode 1 of our MU-2 build. I loved hearing from you guys. I love talking to y'all about the project. We have so many interesting comments. So before we get on to this episode, I would like to read some of y'all's comments and answer some of the questions that y'all might have had. Maybe people haven't looked in the comments or seen the other ones on Facebook. So we're going to go ahead and answer some of these. So Paul wrote us, nice project, good size. Hope to visit you at Best this year. Now, I think, Paul, you are the guy that built the other MU-2 that I think we saw last year at Best. If that's you, let us know in the comments for sure. Best, if y'all don't know what Best is, it's a electric RC festival that happens in October sometime. Outside of Houston area. So yeah, we're going to try our best to be there, and we would love to hang out with you. Maybe we can get our MU-2s out there together, show some love for that awesome, unique bird. Looking forward to it, by the way. We have Tom, who said, sweet, I like your method of the central spine and former halves glued to that. Yeah, we've tried a little bit of a unique thing. As you can see, he's referring to the central spine here and there, and then our formers coming around the side. I hope it works. I know we had Airhammer talk to us, his concern about not having enough formers and also not having enough support in a horizontal stab, which we'll address that in the build section of this video. We'll talk about more. We did end up beefing it up. So we'll definitely hit on that. Thanks, Airhammer, for your concern for sure. It's also awesome that we have former maintainers of the aircraft on here. The guy named Planemaker said he's worked on at least 1/3 of the remaining flying fleet of MU-2s. It's great to have you here, buddy. That's really exciting to us to have experts like that. By the way, guys, if any of y'all have worked on them, built them in the San Angelo factory, we would love to hear from you guys. So leave some comments for sure. Terry said he's made plans. He built a trial mock-up. He has the motors and he's ready to go, but he wants to see ours first and asked if our plans were available. Well, if you saw in last episode, we really don't have plans. We just kind of took some scale measurements from the top view, side view pictures, and then we scaled them up and actually hand drew them onto the board. So I don't think we'll ever really have any plans per se available, but keep watching and maybe y'all can do something similar to us. Now, lastly, the one thing I really want to get to here, if I can find the comments. Yeah, here we go. So Scott said, the real one uses spoilers instead of ailerons. Are you going to make your RC model like this? So that's a good segue, but first, let's read the rest of it. Let's read our next comment too. We have, it's true, spoilers were very effective, and Steven recommends us going for it. So yeah, so we've been thinking about this a lot, and if y'all have been tuning into the channel for a while, you know that I'm a scale nut, and I want to make sure that things are accurate. Like, for example, these landing gear right here are driving me nuts. I need to be able to remove these wheels, and the little grub screws are stuck. So it's driving me nuts because those wheels are way too small. So yes, I'm a total scale geek when it comes to these airplanes. So in short, I think we are going to go for it, but that's a great segue to our next section. So let's talk about our wing design and what makes this MU-2 very unique, but also design challenges in this project. Take a look.
The MU-2 does not have a conventional wing design. Many of y'all have asked in the comments if we were going to do a spoiler system in lieu of an aileron system like the real airplane. Okay, now I realize that not all of y'all understand this aviation mumbo jumbo, so let me break it down for you guys so y'all have a decent understanding before we go into talking about how we're going to design our airplane. Let's start by explaining what ailerons are. If you guessed the little wiggly things on the end of the wings, you are correct. Now, let's go into depth of what they do and how they work. Ailerons control the aircraft's roll axis or longitudinal axis. And that axis is an imaginary line drawn from the tail of the aircraft to the nose of the aircraft in the normal flight direction. Now that we know what ailerons do, let's talk about how they work. And to talk about how they work, we must start off with how the wing works. As the airplane moves forward, some of the air is going to go above the wing. Some of the air is going to go below the wing. All of the air is going to meet at the same time at the trailing edge. For the air to meet at the same time at the trailing edge, that means that the air above the wing, because it has to travel a longer distance, is going to be moving faster than the air below the wing, which has a shorter distance to travel, thus creating a low pressure above the wing and a high pressure below the wing, causing the airplane to lift. Now that's all well and good, but I'm sure that you're still asking, what does this have to do with the ailerons and causing the airplane to roll? But I promise it's relevant. Now I'm going to throw another term at you, camber. Camber is a measure of the curvature of the upper wing surface. In simple terms, more camber equals more lift. Now one last term that we're going to discuss. You see that dashed line? That is a chord line. The chord line is an imaginary line drawn from the midpoint of the leading edge of the wing to the midpoint of the trailing edge of the wing. So let's see how all of this stuff pertains to the ailerons. As you can see in this figure, the aileron is deflected downward, which means there is more camber above the chord line. And you remember how we discussed before, more camber, more lift, which in turn results in this wing rising. When one aileron is deflected downward, the opposite aileron is deflected upward. It raises the camber line, and there's less camber, which means less lift. So this wing, in turn, will actually go downward. Now that we've explained how an airplane with conventional ailerons is controlled around the roll axis, let's talk about the MU-2, who's not so conventional. Because the MU-2 had the speed of a jet, but needed to have runway numbers of a turboprop, Mitsubishi decided to go with a full span flap. And that kind of pushed out the ailerons. So the only other option that they had was to use a spoiler system. So what exactly is a spoiler? The spoiler is not exclusive to the MU-2. As seen here, it's on most of your major airliners, although they are not the primary control for the roll axis. Let's see how a spoiler works. When a spoiler is deployed, it disrupts the airflow over the upper wing surface, thus killing the lift. So when you want to roll the MU-2, you deploy the spoiler on the wing that needs to be lowered, the lift is killed, and the airplane will roll into that wing. Now that I've explained the difference between the use of conventional ailerons versus the use of spoilers to manipulate roll axis, let's talk about trim tabs. Some trim tabs like the one on this picture can be found on the aft end of a primary control surface. Its purpose is to reduce the amount of pressure required on the controls by the pilot in a segment of flight. The MU-2 has a quite unique trim tab for the roll axis. It is located on the aft end of the outboard flap panel. Mitsubishi designed it this way because if the airplane was ever in a single-engine situation, only using negative lift for trim would greatly diminish the climb. So now that I've given you all of this information, let's talk about why I was giving you all this information. It has been suggested that I definitely need to do the spoiler-on setup on this aircraft, and I completely agree. But I'm still worried about just only using negative lift. So my thought is to put another servo inside the flap and get those trim tabs moving and use them as conventional ailerons so the airplane will still look pretty scale, but I will also have total control of the aircraft. Leave in the comments what you guys think about this idea. That is just one of many I'm kicking around at the moment. And now we'll send you back to the shop.
All right, guys, I hope y'all really understood that explanation of what makes this MU-2 a lot more unique and the design challenges we have ahead with the wing design. I would love to hear from you in the comments section of what y'all's opinion would be and which direction I should go, if I should even try conventional ailerons where the trim tabs are, straight spoilers, or just make it easy on ourselves and just do ailerons. We'd love to hear from you guys. I'm up for anything. I really think I'm leaning towards making this thing real scale and at least using spoiler-ons for part of our roll control. Now, I know it doesn't seem like we've had a busy week as far as building the airplane because I've been working so much, but we got a lot accomplished. So let's move on and let's talk about what we've got done this week. Take a look.
We started off our week with the nose wheel steering servo. Yeah, we just glued it on with some hot glue. That should work. Then we moved on to the rudder. We used shims to match the angle and the thickness of the vertical stabilizer. Then we moved on to the construction of the elevators. This took 2 darn attempts because I built them backwards to start. How do you build them backwards? You make the thick part on the trailing edge. I just threw this one in there because it looked cool with the light shining up underneath it. After wetting the foam board, we used a scrubbing sponge to remove the paper. Then we busted out the hot glue gun and started skinning the aircraft. We learned really quickly that when you're hot gluing the skin to the aircraft, the paper on the inside that's touching the ribs needs to be removed as well, or it'll just simply not adhere. So that's what we got accomplished over the last couple of weeks. Let's send it back to the shop and close this thing up.
All right, guys, now that you're caught up with our project, I'm really liking the way that this tail is coming out, by the way. It's actually starting to look like a real MU-2 here. We're going to talk about what we're going to be doing next week and moving forward. So as you can see, obviously in the video, we've started skinning the bottom of the airplane, and we're going to finish that out. We're going to skin the entire bottom first. Then we're going to add servos, wiring, and through the inside of the airplane, and then we'll close up the top. But this is probably going to stay open through the wing construction, just covering these sides. That's going to be covered by the wings for sure. Skinning, guys. I know I emphasized it in the video. I can't emphasize it more. It is the biggest pain in the butt. In fact, if you could see here, I've been out of town for a little while. Rudder fell. Been out of town for a little while, and this actually came undone. It's quite the bear. So we're going to get that glued back on, obviously, maybe with some stronger glue. It just didn't seem to hold, but I'm not too worried about it coming undone once the airplane is finally fiberglass, because the fiberglass should hold it into place better. But that is way down the road, guys. That's a long ways from here. But yeah, so that's going to be our next step, is definitely finishing out the skin, getting some servos installed, And who knows, maybe we'll even start wing construction soon. One thing that's interesting that happened whenever we were holding pressure on this, it actually torqued the fuselage a little bit. And now our horizontal stab is wonky. That's kind of a problem, but I think we're going to be able to resolve that. I did not do the skin panel on this other side by me. So hopefully what will happen, and we'll keep you updated on this for sure, the build process, where hopefully what's going to happen is whenever we put the skin on there, we'll actually torque it back into position, and when it dries, hopefully that'll fix that. Let me know in the comments of what y'all think, if it's going to work or not. Love to hear from you guys. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week. We really, really enjoy sharing this time with y'all. We love talking with y'all, and we love the fact y'all are sharing our videos. It is so awesome. We are so thankful for all of you guys tuning in and being a part of this. I look forward to talking to y'all next week, so please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.